have a legal department that is steadily been growing over the past couple years. So we have a couple attorneys that work with us that can represent our clients in certain situations. And then we have a few other advocates. So I'm one of the advocates that works in the legal department. And the way that I explain it to my clients is I'm not a lawyer and I can't give legal advice, but like in a hospital, there's a doctor who went to school forever to know what to do and to be able to give you all of the prescriptions and things that you need. I'm like the nurse. So I think we're live on Facebook now. And I was just explaining that I work in the legal department here at Peace at Home. And I was saying that how I explain to my clients sometimes is I'm like the nurse. We have our attorneys who can represent our clients in certain situations. I don't have all of that knowledge and experience, but I can at least fill some gaps and talk to people, make sure they have everything they need, and bring things up to the attention of our attorneys when they need that. What I do that's different from our other legal advocates here is I actually work inside the Washington County Courthouse, and I work very closely with the circuit clerk's office, who has been very welcoming to us since my position started. That's where you go to file for an order of protection. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. In Benton County, you don't have to go to the circuit clerk's office for that. So it's a little bit different up there, but I'm going to be giving some general information about orders of protection, what they are, what they do, how to get one. And if anyone has any questions at all during this whole talk, please feel free to comment or send a message, and we'll see if we can get that lined up before the end of this call. Also, if you have questions at all about any of the services we have, you're always welcome to email us at our help email. I'll see if we can have that information shared as well wherever these videos are posted. But like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I work in the Washington County Courthouse with our clients who are filing for an order of protection. What's an order of protection? In some places, it's called a civil order, a civil protective order. In some places, it's called a domestic protective order. This is different from what people hear a lot that's called a restraining order. It's different from a no contact order. Those things are a part of a much different process. And orders of protection are specifically for people who are experiencing domestic abuse, violence in the home or in a relationship, or from a family member. So I'll explain one example of a situation that we worked on with a client last year. I was at the courthouse in the circuit clerk's office, and I got a call from security. They said someone's here, they need an order of protection. Now this was Friday. It was the end of the day on Friday. And if anyone here who's listening has ever, had to go and try to do all the red tape and get things taken care of, at a courthouse or anywhere that you have to deal with stuff like this, that at the end of the day on Friday, it's, sometimes some of the judges are gone. Sometimes people are just trying to wrap up their stuff. But an order of protection is a very specific process. And the justice system understands that it's an emergency situation. So they try to make it as accessible as possible for people to get these things. And this client, the court calls that person a petitioner. This petitioner came to the courthouse because they needed help. They needed protection against their partner. And they'd been held hostage for several weeks, almost 2 months, hadn't been able to leave the house. And I'm not going to go into the details of the things that they experienced, but it was very difficult, and her life was in danger. She came to the courthouse. We helped her walk through the paperwork that she had to take care of. The clerks in the clerk's office filed that paperwork for her, and a judge got her answer very quickly in this situation. And thankfully, she was able to get a temporary order of protection that day before she even left the courthouse. Now, after this contact that I had with her, I helped her understand a little bit about the process for an order of protection, helped her understand a little bit about the process for getting services from us at Peace at Home. And I told her about how we can help with an attorney at her hearing that she would need to be going to in about a month. I talked to her about some of the other services that we have at Peace at Home, but I actually ended up not hearing from her again. And I didn't hear even what went on in her situation until a month later. She didn't actually go to the hearing for her final order of protection. Now, that at first may sound like it wasn't a success. It may sound like, if you're just thinking from the court perspective, people get petitions, they get temporary orders of protection, then they get their final order of protection, and that's what sounds like a success. But for this person, it was a success for her. She got what she needed from that process. She got temporary protection, and she got her and her children to safety, and she decided that she didn't want to go through with the rest of the process. And I talked with her several months afterwards, and she was very happy and she felt safe. Obviously, everyone is in many different situations, so success is going to look different for everyone. But that's what we do, is try to help people meet the goals that they have. So what I do is to try to kind of fill in the gaps between people getting help from us. Maybe they're trying to get help from other legal services. They're trying to get their paperwork done at the courthouse. And it's hard to balance all of these things and interact with this huge, criminal and justice system when maybe this is the first time you ever stepped up to try to advocate for yourself and try to get safety for yourself and maybe your children. I'm going to talk briefly about what are the benefits of an order of protection, how effective they may be for you if you need one, the costs and the barriers, and some common misconceptions. So some of the good things about an order of protection are that it is a solution that focuses on preventing abuse in the future. If you try to call the cops, try to press charges, these are obviously things that are focusing on things that happened in the past. An order of protection is different from a criminal process. It's a civil process. And if you file it, you're the one who has control over it. It's focused on preventing any more abuse in the future. Also, another good thing about it is that it can kind of be tailored by your judge to fit your specific needs. If there are children in the situation, and you need to include some considerations for visitation and custody, you can talk about that with your judge and with your attorney as well, hopefully. It's also, the process is supposed to be very accessible because the justice system understands that not everyone would be able to get an attorney to try to get an order of protection when they're in danger. Also, punishments for violating an order of protection can be very quick. So those are the benefits. We'll talk a little bit about how effective they are. If the question is, does an order of protection stop violence? Generally, no. In many cases, yes. Studies show in about half of cases, it can stop violence and physical abuse. In the cases where it doesn't actually stop abuse, it does significantly reduce the frequency and the amount of times and the different kinds of abuse that victims experience. Also, apart from the abuser violating that order, many victims feel a lot more safe afterwards. A lot of people who get an order of protection and feel that it's been effective for them report feeling less fear, having fewer days of stress and anxiety, and getting more days of sleep. But only you can decide if if you're experiencing violence from a partner, you know them best. You know them better than the judge. And if you have an attorney in your case, you know them better than that attorney. Only you can decide if the benefits outweigh the costs of getting one. So we'll talk a little bit about the costs, what it takes to get an order of protection. Like I said, it's supposed to be an accessible process, but it still takes time. It doesn't take a lot of money. In most cases, it doesn't take any money at all. Here in Washington County, Benton County, you don't have to pay money to file for an order of protection. But it does take time. It takes resources. You need to get to the courthouse. If you have kids, if you need to leave them, if you have somewhere you can leave them, if you have a safe place you can leave them, and then all of the thought process of organizing your life. On average, nationally, it takes about 6.5 hours to get an order of protection. So many people come in and they think, I'm going to get my order of protection right now. You have to do the paperwork, you have to go through the process, it has to be filed. And on average, it takes 6.5 hours. Like in the situation that I shared before, it was much less than 6 hours, but sometimes it's been more than that as well. Another cost for trying to get an order of protection is the personal cost that the victim themselves experiences. And that's about the acceptability of it. How's my family going to think about this? Is the judge going to believe me? Is anyone going to believe me? Are they going to blame me instead? That some people have experienced that, unfortunately, before they tried to file for an order of protection. There's also the psychological costs, the fear of being blamed for what happened, the fear of having to face the abuser in court eventually, and fear of retaliation from their abuser. There's also the cost of the time that you have to spend on navigating the justice system, and figuring out whether or not you're actually eligible for an order of protection to begin with, dealing with the red tape and bureaucracy that comes with any type of process like this. And sometimes people have experienced backlash, or felt that they've experienced backlash for filing for an order of protection, not just from their abuser, but sometimes they feel like the system itself is pushing back at them for trying to get help. People have experienced difficulty with following through with that protective order and making sure that the abuser does not violate it. So there are some, we only have a few minutes left, but I want to talk about some misconceptions about orders of protection, and I'll answer a couple questions, some common questions. The one common misconception about orders of protection is that they don't work. And that's because in the media, you're only going to hear about the times that it doesn't work. And unfortunately, there are many times that it hasn't worked for some reason, whether that's, there wasn't enough follow through with law enforcement, or maybe the person didn't include enough evidence, or there was something wrong. There's always going to be situations where it might not work for someone. But there are always also situations where it does work for someone. There's also stigma, unfortunately. A misconception is that people who file for an order of protection, there's something different about them. The people who are pushing for help, that there's just something different about the person who goes to get an order of protection. And people who want help with that, that's the way that they feel. They feel like if they do that, that people are going to think something different about them. But that's wrong. And if you know anything about domestic violence, and you've heard anything that we've shared over these past several days, domestic violence is something that affects everyone at every level of society, across all demographic boundaries. It affects everyone. So we only have 1 minute left. I'll just answer a few common questions that we get about orders of protection. One of them is, what kind of evidence is needed to file for an order of protection? So this has to do with eligibility. If you are experiencing violence in a relationship with someone that you are either a family member with, or that you live with, or in a romantic relationship with, then your relationship qualifies for an order of protection. You don't technically need evidence to file for an order of protection. In the court hearing that comes afterwards, when the judge decides whether or not to give you a final order, they'll want to see all the evidence that you have, but you don't need evidence to ask for help. You will fill out the petition, and you'll fill out an affidavit, and that means that you're going to sign it and say that you're swearing that it's true. So if you do need to go file for an order of protection, remember to bring a photo ID with you, because you'll need to notarize it before it can be filed. But you don't need to bring in police reports and pictures and audio and video and medical records. If you have that, get it ready for your attorney. Another question is, do I need an attorney to file for an order of protection? No, you do not need an attorney to file for an order of protection. At your hearing, you won't be required to come with an attorney, but obviously anytime that you're appearing before a judge, an attorney is going to help. And that's something that we may be able to help with here at Peace at Home. So there are some situations where people qualify for an order of protection because they're experiencing physical violence from someone that they live with or someone that's a family member of theirs. You can still file for an order of protection. You would qualify for an order of protection, and you can get help even from places like legal aid. For people who are experiencing violence within a romantic relationship, that's something that we can help with. So we do have attorneys, and if it's something that you're interested in or you know someone that might be interested in that, please get a hold of us. Let them know that you're needing legal help. You can explain a little bit about the situation. I'll see if we can also get our hotline number shared here. And if you even if you don't see it, you can always go to our website, peaceathomeshelter.org. And I'll just do one last question. I know we're a little bit over time. Is can an order of protection be dropped after I filed for it? And yes, the answer is yes. If you file for an order of protection, the only people that can drop it or can stop it are you or the judge. So you can file for an order of protection, and you can, if you think that you need protection right now, maybe you're not sure, you can always file it if you qualify for one. And if later on you decide that you need to drop it, you can do that. That's your right. So I think that's probably enough information right now about orders of protection. If you'd like, you can also contact us via our new eChat. If you're not comfortable with calling a helpline, we have a chat service now that's available on weekdays, Mondays through Fridays, from 2 to 5 p.m. But if you would like to call our hotline and you want to talk to an advocate, it's open 24/7, and that number is 479-442-9811. So thank you guys for anyone who stopped in to listen today, anyone who may be listening later on where we post this video. If you have questions about an order of protection or any of the services that we have at Peace at Home, always feel free to get a hold of us in any of the ways that I just shared with you. And if you know someone that needs help, you can also give them our information too. So thanks for listening in.
Thanks, Chad. Really appreciate you sharing that information. One quick question for orders of protection. If somebody's wanting to get an order of protection, is that something that they need to call ahead to make an appointment at the courthouse, or can they just walk in and start filling out that paperwork?
If you need help right now, just go straight to the courthouse. If you have the resources and the time to call ahead of time, I would definitely say yes, call them to talk to them, but you don't need to make an appointment. If you're experiencing violence within an intimate relationship or romantic relationship, you can call us as well, because we do help our clients with orders of protection, and we can give you the information and maybe a little bit more support in some cases as well. But no matter where you're at, if you're in Arkansas, you can go to the courthouse of the county that you live in, or the county that the person you need protection from lives in, or the county where the abuse happened. So you can go to any of those places and ask for help. If it's a smaller courthouse, you might need a little bit more support. But in general, you'll either be going to the prosecutor's office or the circuit clerk's office. And you don't need to make an appointment. Thanks for that question, Eva.
Yeah, and one more, does the process look any different? Are there any special considerations for survivors who are undocumented?
That's a great question. I wanted to share a little bit more specifically about the steps of the order protection process, but we're also working on some resources some informational resources to help everyone understand that. So we'll be sharing that stuff as well soon. But there is no difference in the process for someone who may be undocumented, because everyone has the right to be safe in their own home. And I certainly understand hesitations that anyone would have, going to a courthouse, getting police involved, if your status is in question. So please also, if that's a consideration for you, please also feel free to give us a call and talk to us. We've probably said it many times, but you should also know that anything you share with us is completely confidential. So anyone in a situation like that is always free to give us a call, and we're not allowed to share anything. Even if you're afraid and don't even want to talk to the court about it, you can always talk to us, and we're not there. I would lose my job if I shared anything without a client's permission. So, but the answer is no, there's not a difference in the process. But for the results, it could be a little bit different if the abuser is undocumented or is not in the country. Then they won't be able to follow through with the process to get them served and informed that they're not allowed to contact you. So there are definitely some considerations that we can help walk you through, but the process itself is the same.
Great. Thank you, Chad. I really appreciate you taking time today. I know that this is a really important topic, and I just want to close out by saying that if anyone needs additional resources on orders of protection or additional information about our legal services or any other services that we provide, you can contact Peace at Home Family Shelter 24 hours a day at 479-442-9811, sorry, 442-9811. And you can also reach us at help@peaceathomeshelter.com. I'd also like to say that we are in the process of highlighting our legal program and bringing more attention to these services that we're providing over the next couple weeks. And this is something that we also utilize fundraising resources to help make this possible. Our legal programs working with hundreds of people every year. Last year alone, we paid over $37,000 just in legal fees. That's not even counting the time we're taking to represent clients for divorces, child custody, and order protection cases, having someone at the courthouse there to meet with people who are starting the order protection process and need assistance. So if this aspect of our work speaks to you, or just in general the work that Peace at Home is doing, please consider making a donation. You can donate to Peace at Home online by visiting peaceathomeshelter.com/donate. So thank you all for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day.